If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. Good morning. This is the Church of the Holy Trinity in Juneau, Alaska. Welcome and thank you for joining with us in worship. This Sunday is early in the long season of Pentecost, which is sometimes called ordinary time. That may be because the weeks are put in order. This is the second Sunday after the Pentecost, Pentecost 2, Pentecost 3 is next week, and so on. Or it may simply reflect that compared to Advent, the Nativity, Lent, and Easter, this is a pretty ordinary time. Frankly, though, I think that view stands in danger of undermining imagination and appreciation for the wonder and beauty of life. We are in the long green season of summer, stretching into autumn, and I like to call it the season of increase. Life quickens, the meadows turn green, the fish return to spawn in the rivers, the flocks of birds and legions of mammals multiply and fatten. Though much of this sensation of the miracle of life has been lost in the cities, the blessings of creation are very evident around us. This provides a vibrant connection to the ages through the language of gratitude in the Psalter. One example among many, Psalm 67, verse 6, "The earth has brought forth her increase. May God, our own God, give us his blessing." It is the season of blessing. Imagine a warm day in fish camp, split fish drying in the sun, Abraham dozing in front of his tent, in the shade there under the trees. He opens an eye, and there are 3 men standing near him. How did they get so far inside his perimeter? Where are his people, his dogs? He jumps to meet them, and he bows to the ground. It is anything but ordinary time. It is at long last the season of increase. Sarah laughed to herself, saying, "After I've grown old and my husband is old, then shall I have pleasure?" And the Lord said, "Is anything too wonderful for the Lord?" Fearful at the start, Sarah later rejoiced and said, "God has brought laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me." It is the season of blessing. It is the season of increase. Jesus walked into the sunlight, visiting cities and villages, teaching and preaching and curing. He had compassion for the people who were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. He said, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few." He called the 12 and he equipped them to change the world. And the 12 became many. And the world, full of wickedness and betrayal and hatred, has become smaller. It is the season of increase and of blessing. This is no ordinary time. There is every kind of disease and every sickness to cure. There is terminal greed and unreasoning hatred and malice of spirit and lack of charity and overwhelming suspicion and injustice and racism. There is infection of the spirit and mind and body. This is the season of compassion and of increase and blessing. The people are harassed and helpless like sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Have compassion on them. This is anything but ordinary time. Shake off the torpor of the afternoon. Change has arrived. Go and proclaim the good news. Clean house, make it worthy. Bring water, rice bread, and baked meat, and bid these strangers welcome. How can we practice hospitality in the midst of pandemic? How can we limit the spread of infection, practice the disciplines of hygiene, reopen safely, and be hospitable? Even if we are as innocent as doves, surely the wisdom of serpents is to hide and stay out of harm's way. Does Jesus expect us to be wise as Abraham, greeting generously when safety beckons innocently from the tent, nervously laughing beside Sarah? Do not worry, said Jesus. You will be dragged before governors and kings because of me. When they hand you over, do not worry about how you are to speak or what you are to say, for what you are to say will be given to you at that time. For it is not for you to speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Have compassion, Jesus? Right. Compassion in the general category is like any other empty set, bluster and without meaning. Compassion only signifies when it is specific. And Jesus said, love your neighbor. And that's a challenge. When they keep flogging the same lies and innuendo, when there is outrage and anger and provocation from left and from right, innocents are harmed, buildings burned, and unbelievable disrespect, injustice from the highest quarters of trust, and the threat of disaster keeps growing, just shake off their dust and keep on. Right? Have compassion. People are afraid. They are harassed and helpless before the general madness. But let your peace come upon you. Remember, the line holds. People are peaceful. Use your words. Use the words you're given to correct error and show injustice. Use those words not as tools of anger or dominance or fear, but of compassion. Proclaim the good news. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Cure the sick. Do not spread soul sickness and depression, neither by foolhardy brag nor fear to examine for truth. Raise the dead. Remember the saints. Encourage sobriety. Teach recovery. Cleanse the lepers. Give comfort and assist those who've been marginalized, excluded, and undermined by abuse, prejudice, racism, and cruelty. Cast out demons. Watch out for vilification and innuendo and the straw man, the hollow man, the weak man. Arguments that go on endlessly and go nowhere and puff up anger. And do not worry. Use the words you will be given. Right. Have compassion. Really? Is this possible? It is. It is. We are not called to bring violence, but healing. We are not called to heal the world, but only those right around us, if they want it. We must learn humility and let the Spirit, the advocate, lead. Do not worry. You will be given all that is needed to endure to the end. And more is anything too wonderful for the Lord? Rejoice. The kingdom of heaven has come near.